what if salt and sugar swapped? I looked at food, because that's kind of, the first place to sort of start with this question is the first thing you think of is what's going to happen to food. So obviously, eventually this won't really be a problem with food because we'll just realize they've switched and use the other one and things will be fine. But all the food that's already been made, that already is, around, will be switched. So the first thing I actually want to figure out was kind of lethality. I want to make sure you couldn't just die when figuring this out. You wouldn't just bite into a Snickers bar and just conk it. So based on studies of rats, the median lethal dose of table salt is about 3 grams per kilogram, or 6.6 grams per pound of body weight. So for me, I weigh 170, so I could eat 1,100 grams of salt, and then I would have a 50% chance of dying. So you should be okay.
That's a lot of salt.
That's a lot of salt.
So in terms of things that are currently sugar heavy, that would be eating about 3.5 pounds of jelly beans in one sitting.
So you're pretty safe.
Yeah,
I'm now slightly worried. I need a better analogy. Eat a salt cube that's the size of a baseball or something. I don't like the 3 pounds of jelly beans. That might happen.
You pick the one thing that everyone uses for the estimate the number thing, and everyone always gets wrong.
I want to say I think I saw it was oh man, I can't remember what the rate was for jelly beans to mass. It's a lot of jelly beans. It's a lot of jelly beans to eat at once. And that's only a 50% chance of dying. So you're probably fine. Even if you're currently finishing your 3.5 pound of jelly beans right now. Just flip a coin, you're probably going to live. So my first thought was basically just sort of go through meal by meal and figure out which foods would be just the worst and which would be intriguing and which ones would be kind of the same. So I started with breakfast. Breakfast actually wound up being mostly pretty simple. So eggs are basically the same. I guess you could put sugar on them instead of salt accidentally, and that's gross. But whatever. Cereal is going to be disgusting. Most of it.
Ugh. Salty flakes.
Bacon could actually be really good because it basically just turns all bacon into just automatically maple bacon, which is awesome. So
just candy bacon.
Yeah. So I mean that's good. And I realized
you're making inside out candy bacon.
Exactly. Yeah, this is great. And then toast doesn't really change. Just I found a bread recipe, and bread recipes have a tablespoon of sugar and 3 tablespoons of salt. So big fucking deal. It's gonna be slightly sweeter. All right. And then going on the toast route, peanut butter is actually almost exactly the same. Peanut butter is 1 teaspoon of salt when you make it, and 1.5 teaspoons of sugar. So it's even less of a fucking deal. And then I got to jam, and that's when the world kind of turned sideways for me.
Yuck.
So, jam shifted the way that you have to think about this problem pretty severely, because jam is pretty much all sugar because it's made of fruit, and fruit is basically all sugar. So, jam itself is just basically just a jar of salt, but beyond that, just raw fruit, I don't know exactly how this looks, because salt also dehydrates things. So I think you just kind of, all fruit becomes just this salty husk. It's not good.
Yeah. The word barren comes to mind.
Yeah. Barren is a very good word for this.
Yeah, you just bite into it, it's
yeah.
It's
so then sort of from that point, I got to I was trying to think of other things that are mostly sugar. Because that is, there's other things in food that are just pure sugar. And then what I landed on was honey, which does lead to a bit of a problem. I'm going to go ahead and put this out here. I managed to once again kill a lot of plants. Because
you're undoing all my good work.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I think that in if you just pick a random episode of this podcast, I'm going to kill all the plants on the planet in 1 in every 6 or something, 1 every 5. It's absurd. So I started doing a little research on bees and the way that bees, relate to honey. And first off, I just want to share sort of a quick segue. One of my favorite things that always comes up on this show, when doing research for it, is this fun feature that Google has where if you Google something, it will suggest other questions about it. And the thing that I eventually was going to try and look into was how bees deal with honey and everything. But it led to this series of questions. I like to imagine one person Googling in sequence, which is, how do bees use honey? Is honey excrement of bees? What do bees make besides honey? Can humans make honey? And this is where they start getting a little furtive. Do bees poop? Do bees poop in the honey? Do bees fart? And then someone walks by, they get embarrassed, and they go, is honey a preserve? What is imitation honey? And that person walks away, and they go, do spiders fart? Do ants fart? Do snakes fart? Oh, sorry. Do sharks fart? And then the better one is, can snakes fart? Which implies that maybe snakes can fart, but they choose not to.
Yeah, they found out they don't, but they're like, oh, wait. Maybe, is this the snake's choice?
Can they actually
a
fart?
leisure
though?
activity.
And then they get back around to, what is special about honeybees? Because at this point, they're trying to get back to bees. And then they get back to the real root of the question, which is, what is honey exactly? Because apparently this person was Jerry Seinfeld. But the big thing is that I realized is that what bees, use honey for, really, is to eat it. They feed it to their larvae to have them grow into bees. So all the bees are going to die.
Yeah.
Because all of the honey they have is just salt now.
Gonna have some salty bees.
Yeah, pretty salty bees. And then from there, we're going to get some pretty severe pollination issues because, we've discussed this on, as mentioned, many episodes of the podcast. So no more bees. Probably. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they can figure it out that they need to just go, grab a bag of pretzels or something, but I don't think they're going to figure that one out fast enough, so...
Yeah, the bees by the M&M factory are going to die, but the bees by the pretzel M&M factory might be okay.
Exactly. They got a shot.
we got one shot in a million.
Yeah. So, beyond that, obviously, there's lots of other, just, food things you can talk about, which some of them, honestly, are pretty exciting. Things like pretzels, I think, are still going to be pretty good, actually. Like, cinnamon sugar pretzels are a thing. I think it could work, It's just basically like a cookie at that point. But, I think at this point, once I've realized this fruit and bee situation, we kind of got some bigger problems to deal with. So, I kind of stopped going down the, hey, what food tastes weird now trail at that point.
We're all gonna die, so it doesn't matter.